Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is Krishna Priya. This is the Human Colony Hucolo webinar. It's Saturday, the 25th of May, 2024, and we have with us our very long-awaited special guest. So we have Bola Ahimbola.
Yeah, this is
Did
the
I say
human.
it wrong, right? Bola Ahimbola. Did I say it right? Perfect. And she's living in the UK, and she's going to be channeling for us today. So very excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Krishna Priya. It's nice to be here. Nice to be on the other side as
Yeah,
opposed to being in the Zoom room.
that's right. Well, you're in the Zoom room, but you're on the other side of the Zoom room. So I like your background and your shirt. You're very color coordinated, so it works very well. It looks great. Okay, so we'll start with some announcements. We'll go into some blessings, and then we'll get going. And also welcome to Pia, who's new with us. If we have any Ireland people, we definitely have to connect you to them. So, all right. Angie, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. The channeling class is scheduled for tomorrow, May 26th, 1:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. There is still time for if you want to sign up. It is scheduled 1:30 tomorrow. I've sent the link out to everyone that's already registered. Thank you, but we do have some space left if you are interested. The channeling class is for both the beginner and the advanced because there's going to be multiple things put into that. That is $150, and you can email classes@hucolo.org, and I will get information out to you. Okay. The consciousness class is Saturday, June 8th. Jim will be channeling that class. It is, again, 1:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. And it is $150. Jim will be channeling the entity Gurnani. And this is, even though this is the third class of the consciousness class, anyone, if you have not taken any of the other consciousness classes, what Jim said that is she's going to bring in all pieces from the two classes and then add in the third portion of that. The cost on that is $150. Again, that's June 8th. That'll be Saturday. Will be right after the webinar. And then we have our gathering scheduled for August 8th through August 12th, 2024. And it's all inclusive, $695. We are also offering a day pass if you live in the area or you want to stay off site and then drive in. We have day rates. And yeah, we're very excited for all of these, the channeling class, the consciousness class, and also the gathering. There's so much community here. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, so very exciting. Perfect. All right, we're going to start with some blessings. Since you're on screen, Ange, why don't you go ahead?
Okay.
Are you doing interpretations as well?
I mean, I can, but I can, because I can.
Why don't you?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Tuura sa taara ket ni iti, usu tuura se ni iti kar utoka ara, samna ara I tano no utu chudo, miata uta arsana, kutu ora I tada atka a utu soda. Being gathered here in this community brings about an energy between all of those. Bring your energies together in positivity and love and encouragement. And then it just stopped. But there was more to that, but it just stopped.
Okay, no problem. All right, go ahead, Dawn, and then Susan. Go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you, Krishna Priya. Paroma se ekishinandoi sa amarea kale anus aneo koshim aseta piana ekusu ora ekushi ali shahani taara ola namahasa akan azana ewanete.
When you have the believing that you can do all the things that are there for you, you will bring about a different energy for your world. Use these energies to help uplift all those around you.
Thank you. And Susan.
You're muted.
I realized I was on mute. Tia sia kutuia, tia sia, kututia ye tia sukuhua ya tia hua, he sia ye tia tukutuia, sia kututia ya sikia, hia zukutea tia ya ukutu, sika ya tia ya kie tukutua sia ya tia, hosea ya kia, tututua ya hitia ya sikitia ya ukutu, hazia ya kia, sukutuia tia ya kua. Blessings.
Embrace all that is there in front of you. Embrace what it is that you are to do. Bring all of who you are to all that is around you.
Thank you. Beautiful. All right, let me just move this now to Bola here. And if everyone else can just turn off their camera, that would be great. Okay, so Miss Bola, Ahimbola, Ahimbola. I like saying that. It's a beautiful way. It sounds very beautiful. Why don't you tell everyone what it means? Bola, Ahimbola.
Thank you, Krishna Priya. Really nice to be here. And I'd really like to thank all the members of Hucolo who came today. Thank you for being here. Bola is abundance in Yoruba language. This is my heritage. I'm from Nigeria, and Bola means abundance. And my surname, Ahimbola, is born into abundance. So abundance born into abundance is what Bola Ahimbola.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so Bola, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you know, basically the basics of your spiritual path and how you started channeling.
Thank you, Krishna Priya. Well, as I said, I'm Nigerian, and my parents were diplomats. They really were they were educated here in the UK. And my father was a lawyer here in the UK, and my mother studied here in the University of London back then in the 60s. And I was born, and I would probably skip to when I was in my teens. Probably better for us. I think my spiritual awakening started when I read this book on the shelf. My mom was a librarian, so there were books in every room in the house. And I read the book called Who Am I by Ramana Maharishi. And immediately after I read that book, I was studying medicine at the time at university. I wanted to leave medicine because I began to become much more interested in human behavior. And I said that to my mom. My dad passed when I was 10. Very difficult childhood, which is a lot of childhood trauma and abuse and a lot of from relatives and things like that. So I had a very a period of time where I depended a lot on my father. And when he passed, I had to work through a lot of things on my own. So I read a lot of books. Reading still continues to be one of my permission slips, I have to say. But I didn't really get to breakthrough until I was 18 and I found that book on the shelf. And I wanted to leave medicine, and my mother said no. So I ended up eloping with my first husband at the time. I was quite rebellious. And we came to the UK together. And that's really where my journey into personal development really began. I really delved into it as I was studying psychology then. Yeah, so this is where my spiritual awakening began when I was 18, and it has continued. There have been moments when I've had dark nights of the soul, and these periods of times are really when you go into a deeper spiritual awakening. And I've had a number of those. But really my I would say breakthrough came when I went into Reiki energy healing. And my teacher at the time, Alexander Lange, from the Reiki Science Academy here in London, was the one that really showed me that energy within when the DNA gets activated because we allow divine essence to flow through it. That is really when I felt divine essence, when I did my Reiki energy training. And that was a long journey. I only trained up years after experiencing Reiki energy training for myself and for my son. And it's been a journey since then. But my work now I work with clients using energy practice, using my study of psychology, emotional recovery. This is about learning about self-awareness. Emotional intelligence is about self-awareness, understanding the emotions and the thoughts within us. And that is really what I help my clients to do. To understand the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings that we have, to know that we have the power within us, a deeper understanding of our own self and the power that we have within us is really what helps us to break through, because there will always be ups and downs. But to be able to go through those ups and downs with more ease and flow is really what my life is about, because it doesn't stop. We still have ups and downs, but it's how we come to understand our own selves a lot more so that we can use those, our own understanding of what permission slips will work for us to scale through. So that has been my journey. It started long ago. And I'm now in a place where I have a lot more ease and flow, using the understanding of myself, understanding of the permission slips that work for me, and really having that unconditional loving perspective. And I'm also an author. I've just written a book, and the audiobook is coming out very soon. This is the book, Daily Soul Bites. And it's, I don't know if you can see it. And it's
Hold it
Daily
up to the
Soul.
camera because you kind of were moving it around and you can't really see it. So move it. Yeah, hold it still. There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah,
yeah,
beautiful.
a little bit better.
Yeah.
The Daily Soul Bites is really about the higher perspectives of higher self, because we have the two parts of us, the physical ego self and the higher self. These two parts contain positive, the higher self contains a lot of positive and neutral perspectives, and the ego self is all about survival, and it contains a lot of negative perspectives, which we can come to align to the higher self. And my book, Daily Soul Bites, is really about sharing a lot of insights. I shared 31 nuggets. It was channeled in 2020 during the pandemic. And I had nuggets come through every day, looking in my garden, something will come through, I'll write it down. And I have 31 nuggets which I share, perspectives of the higher self, which the physical ego self can begin to align to. Because the more familiar we are with the higher perspectives of the higher self, the easier it becomes for us to really align to those perspectives and let them guide us in our day to day, in what we do, in forming our habits, in making our decisions, in relating to our friends, with ourselves. And it makes life much easier, and we get our best outcomes this way. And it's a perspective. This is all about perspective. And I really would love my book to become a tool for everyone, because I know this is the way it was for me. When I began to align more and more to higher perspectives, that is when I know that the struggles became less. It became much easier for me to just show love to myself, show love in my relationships, and deal with my emotions with a lot more ease and flow. So yes, the audiobook is coming out in July, so I'm going to have a big launch when it comes out. And yes, that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, beautiful. So I wanted to go back to the, sorry, my Google Home app started chatting. I just wanted to talk about what you mentioned about Reiki really opening you up. In what way did that open you up?
If I say that on a day to day, we don't really realize that we are two parts, that there is a physical ego self and a spiritual self. Yes, I was a Christian. My parents were Christians. but I didn't really connect with my spirit self as much. I read spiritual scriptures, I read, religious scriptures, but there is still a dependence on the physical ego self. There is no understanding there's a power within you, as an essence within you that belongs to you. It doesn't belong to anybody else. What Reiki did for me was it allowed me to connect, to feel this essence. I could no longer deny it. This was another level of spiritual awakening. Because when we hit this level of spiritual awakening where we feel this self, there's no going back.
Right.
We know that this spirit self is within us. We can feel the energy within us. We can speak to it. It speaks to us. We can no longer deny its existence. This is what Reiki did for me.
Right. Well, one of the symbols truly is about the distance symbol, which erases time and space. And and it also erases the idea of separation. So that is one of the key components for most people who, after they do Reiki, they start to open up and they have these sort of oneness moments and epiphanies and connection. And that's actually the purpose of Reiki more than even than the healing modality. It's more for the person who is initiated into Reiki so that they can continue along their spiritual path. So I always love hearing people's awakening stories after they have done Reiki. And for a lot of people, that is a pivotal, I can't even say the word, pivotal moment. So,
Yeah,
and then
sure.
I found something else interesting. You were studying medicine, so were you pre-med or were you in medical school?
I was in medical school.
And then you left and did you go into psychology or what did you
I
actually
did.
study?
I went into BSc psychology here in the UK.
Okay.
I just lost interest in medicine. It's like passion. I think there's interesting about passion. And understanding our kind of primary themes and secondary themes of life.
Mm-hmm.
I think my primary theme is really healing. It continues to be healing. But the secondary theme, it started out as medicine, but it's moved from medicine. It's still in the sciences, but it's more like energy healing now. But yes, I've stayed in that healing theme, but the passion has shifted over the years. And I think it's important for, when these shifts happen, for us to be aware and to accept and to love it, to love them, because it can be a bit tricky. You can imagine telling my mother, I'm no longer in this medicine,
I
I'm doing
actually had
something.
that thought because are your parents are you first generation UK?
Well, my parents were lived here for many years, so I'm not sure if that's but I would say I'm second generation because they lived here and they have roots here. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Mm.
still, to tell a parent whose child, because your child became a doctor, right?
Yes, my second son is a doctor. Yes,
But
yes.
to be on that path and then to say, oh, and by the way, I'm much more interested in healing and the mind and than to be a doctor. So how did your parents accept it?
Well, my dad had passed when I was 11, but my mother, till she passed when she was 80, she hadn't gotten over it. So so it's kind of and this is why, no matter what is going on the external, it could be a drive for you to get to know yourself even more,
Mhm.
or for us to allow ourselves to be distracted by what is on the outside. Because no matter how disappointed she was, I couldn't bring myself to go back to it. I
No,
just, I knew within myself that it was no longer something of interest. And I had to be honest with myself. And that took time because she was a rock for many years.
yeah,
And it took time for me to actually come back to myself each time and say, I'm sorry, I cannot go down this route. And sometimes it can be lonely standing alone. But
yes,
being honest with ourselves is really, really key because this, in the long run, is what gives us our best outcomes.
yes. So what I would like to do, why don't you talk about your relationship with the Aldorians, because you're one of the few people who I actually know that, refer to them frequently and talk about them frequently, and that has a relationship with that group. So maybe you can talk a little bit about who they are to you, and how you work with them.
Yes, they are loving beings. They're loving beings. I know from my conversations with Jim Charles, who also channels the Aldorians, that there are five of us that channel the Aldorians as of early this year. I have been channeling them now since 2023. So it's close to a year and a half now. Um, I definitely feel a sense of unconditional love when I channel them. I started out channeling the six-dimensional Aldorians. And this was something that I did on my own. I didn't do it publicly. But I was attracted to the work that Jim Charles was doing here at Hucolo. And I remember asking Jim, who are they? So a lot of what I've learned about them is my own questions. I've not read about them on the internet. I don't know if anybody else apart from myself and Jim. I don't know anybody else apart from myself and Jim who channels them. But they come through with an energy of unconditional love. And they have said to me that they're here to really help us develop a new sense of well-being, a new way of being. And they were with me when I channeled the book Daily Soul Bites, even though I did not realize it at the time in 2020. So that was a bit of automatic writing I was doing at the time before I began to do the light language channeling. And now I'm told that it's a 10th dimensional Aldorians that I'm channeling. So it's mostly light language. But I believe they have also helped me to really connect with my higher self. So a lot of the times now I'm doing conscious channeling with my higher self. And I'm sure the Aldorians and my other spirit guides are helping me because I also have a strong angelic connection with the Metatron and Archangel Michael and some other beings. So it's all about unconditional love and about developing that understanding of self and stepping into um, our own power, our true self too.
I think when you channel beings that other people don't have reference to, in some ways that's very special, because then the information you bring forward about them becomes so much more real for you, as opposed to only being what you've heard from other people, and you really are able to form your picture of them based on your own channeling. And I think there's something very nice and pure about that, that's even strengthens the connection. So, and I'm sure you've been channeling them for how long now?
Consciously a year and a half, but they've been with me for a while. I would say
Yes.
they've been with me probably 5 years, a long longer, and probably even a lot longer than that.
So as you get to know them, it'll be interesting to see, like in another 2 years or 5 years, how you know and perceive them and what you understand about them versus what you know now. I know with my group that, many, many years later, you just know them so much better. But it comes in stages as you're ready to receive it, as the information is appropriate and as it's can be revealed. So it'll be
Very
interesting.
true. It is a journey. It's definitely a journey. And it's fun.
So why don't you, if you would, share, do you also do light language interpretation?
I do. Now I do. That's the thing, isn't it? When I started out, I couldn't. But now I can interpret not for others, but what I channel, the light language I channel, I can now interpret.
Michael has a question for you. He wants to know a little bit more about them. Michael, why don't you go ahead and ask Bola?
Yes, like what dimension do they reside in? Where are they from? Are they in our Milky Way or and just a little bit, like we know Palladians, Arcturians and stuff like that. But if you could just give me a rundown of their planet, just not Yes, please.
Yes, thank you, Michael. I know there are many galaxies away. I know they have limbs. They are humanoid in shape. They have large eyes. They have brown skin. Um, and they are different from, there is um, there's another, there's similar name. There's Aldorians and there's another, can't remember it right now top of my head. But the Aldorians um, have a very strong connection with Earth. They were the beings that came last year to the Las Vegas visit. There was a Las Vegas visit last year, and from the extraterrestrial visit, and it was the Aldorians who announced that they were the ones who visited then. So they're very close to Earth, and they're connecting more and more with a determination to really allow us to step into our own power. But they have many dimensions. They're the sixth dimension, seventh dimension, and it goes all the way up to the 10th dimension and beyond. And I am now telling the 10th dimensional Aldorians. And they do have a council of elders, I'm told, but I'm still learning about them. So that's as much as I know at the moment.
When you say your channel, did you have any other questions, Michael, or not?
Yes, if she can. Yeah, I do have some.
Okay, go ahead.
Some. Well, it's personal. Is it okay for me to ask?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so all right, hold on, let my mom shut the door. All right, my dad's on hospice. They said they'd give him just a couple days. Anyway, so his older sisters haven't been around. No one has ever come to see him, and we've already talked about his cremations, and it's been tough. But anyway, I was wanting to know his two sisters that cause havoc in our life, especially my mom's. Are they out to get something out of this? What is it? Why won't they just leave us alone? Or any messages related to that?
What's coming to mind is, what is the meaning of this situation for you? What does it mean to you personally?
I would
That's
love to
what's
see
coming to mind.
is like my father or the people I'm talking about.
And what does it mean to you specifically? This scenario you have brought up. What does it mean to you? What's it creating personally?
Well, I just want my dad just to pass and have a new body. He's been hanging on. He doesn't have any beliefs. So that's why I think he's holding on as much as he can, because he just don't know. He's afraid. Because let's just say that he wasn't the best person at all growing up or towards my mom. And I just want this transition to go, and we're meeting his, he want to be cremated and this and that, and then all of a sudden, all these people are coming, and they're so nosy, they're trying to dictate how everything needs to be done, and where have they been for the last 20 years? So.
Yes. What is coming to me is for you to continue to identify and highlight to yourself what the scenario means for you. And you've said it just now. You do want your father to transition. You want it to happen as simply, with as much ease and flow as possible. And for you to continue to hold your preferred scenario and circumstances in your own mind. And as much as possible, to communicate that to those around you. This is key because there will be people around you who would have their own preferences. And it's important for you to know what is yours because you have the power. You have the power to understand your own needs and what you would prefer to happen, and to know that you can communicate that. You can communicate that and allow yourself to be guided at this time. And know that you are loved and you are supported, you're not alone. That is what has come through.
And just one other quick question. My ex-wife brung my daughter up from Florida. I haven't seen her in 4 years, and they just stopped by, and they're staying in a motel. They just stopped by for an hour, and they just stand in a motel. Does my daughter even want to be here? It seems like she doesn't even want to be here. My intuition tells me that. But any mess, just anything you can help me, anything that you can pick up that'll in the in this question.
Yeah, something around being easy on yourself. Take it easy on yourself. There is a question that you may want to ask yourself anytime you feel any strain within you. And that question is, why would I not show myself love at this time? What stops me from showing myself love at this time? You're being a bit hard on yourself, it seems. So allow yourself to come to that place of a deeper embodiment of love and be easy on yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. Blessings.
You're welcome.
I hope to see you again on Hucolo.
Blessed. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. I wanted to ask actually some more questions about the and Aldorians that came when Michael was asking his questions. But now I've lost my question, so I will wait until when it comes back to me as questions go out of my head. I think it's time if you would like to channel, or excuse me, do channel the light language and bring the message through, and then if there's questions, then we could come back to them. I had a question; it was right there, but I don't know. I do not know where it went. Okay.
Etaramakatoro sorokorotama. Totoro mosotoro shiritara makarasara. Lotolo mosotolo moteri satara. Antitiri sotoro mushatarasi. Eteri sotoro musha. Kantatara sotoro shu. Reketere musatara katarasu. Totoro musa. Ratitiri mosotoro shitiris. Allow yourselves to open up to the love within you. There is so much love within you. You are love. You are the essence of love. There is so much love around you. There is so much love within you. But you have been conditioned, you have been programmed to only feel yourself surviving, to only feel yourself struggling. Allow yourself to pause and open up to the love that you have within you. The message we have for you is about love within. Breathe in love and breathe out love in every moment. So thank you.
Thank you. If anyone has any questions for Bola, please put a message in the chat and we'll take them right away. The question did come back to me. I was wondering if you are channeling the collective, or are you working specifically with individuals within the Aldorian society?
always a different name. So I believe it's a collective. It's not
Okay,
a
so
one person. Yeah, it's a collective.
okay. And you said you've slowly started to evolve. You've been dealing with different levels of different dimensional beings. So are they the ones that are 10th dimension, are they in bodies or they're no longer physical?
It's an energy essence. It's an essence. It's not even the six dimensional were not. It wasn't a body. I was saying the body description came from Jim when I asked him to describe them to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's probably the lower dimensional Aldorians that have that physical body. But
So they still have form, but they don't have physical bodies. They're in
there
form.
are there's definitely a dimension of Aldorians that have a physical form.
Okay.
Definitely, yes. Yeah, that's definite.
And
But when I channel, I get different when I ask for the names, I get a different name. Like just now it was Rohendra. And at another time it would be another name. But it's a collective. It's a collective at different levels of at different dimensions. So I'm now channeling the 10th dimensional collective with different essence of beings coming at different times when I channel.
and what is the difference in your observation between someone at say third or fourth dimension versus 10th? I mean, what is the message different? Is it more evolved? What is do you know what I'm trying to
I
ask?
find that it was easier for me to speak when I was channeling the sixth dimensional Aldorians.
Hmm.
The 10th dimensional Aldorians find the English language a little bit tricky. So there's a lot more and when I'm channeling the 10th dimensional consciously. There's a lot more of that.
Do
But
you
yeah,
do they communicate more telepathically with you then? Like more in sort of thought form versus or symbolic form more than words?
it's audio I hear. It's more I just hear it. It's more audio and it comes out.
Even with the 10th dimension?
Yes, it's all. I'm more audio clairaudient than anything else. I do see visions as well, but I'm more clairaudient.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you. Did anyone else have any questions? Let me just check the YouTube chat. No. Angie, do you have a question?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. So I would think what would be beautiful for us is if you were to pick something from your beautiful book that you would think would be thematically appropriate and necessary for this time, and then maybe if you can go into more detail based on what you share with us. And if you haven't gotten her book, you can get the book on Amazon.com. Is that right?
Yes, it's actually available anywhere books are sold online. So Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Barber Press, yes.
Okay, so please check out her book. And she will sign it for you virtually.
Well, I wouldn't be able to do that. But I would appreciate a review on my Amazon page. That would be nice. Or to send me a review to connect with me. I would appreciate that. Yes, that would be nice.
All right, perfect. And you do private sessions and readings for people?
I do. I do have Reiki energy healing sessions. I do, and in those sessions I also do some life coaching, and it's all about transforming that, that range of emotions. And if we think about our emotions, I mean, in 2005, there was an article published by the National Science Foundation in the States
Hmm.
that talked about how, the average person has about 12,000 to to 60,000 thoughts, every day going through the mind. And actually now I think it's 90,000 thoughts for the average person.
My
This
goodness.
is what research has shown. And 80% of those thoughts are negative, and 90% of those thoughts are repetitive, you see. So our thoughts are really key to be able to come to a place where we are becoming more self-aware of these thoughts and allowing these thoughts to become much more neutral, much more positive, to
Right.
own them, to accept them, and to allow the more, higher perspective, higher self thoughts to drive our day to day. That's what I do sometimes in my one-to-one sessions. Apart from the energy healing, it's about holding particular precepts in our minds. Thoughts we hold, as well as how we surrender. Because what Reiki energy healing does, it activates the cellular DNA in order for it to allow a lot more higher perspectives to flow within it. Because this DNAs, they hold in our thoughts, they hold in our emotions. So energy healing allows us to align to more positive energy meridians within us. So I do the energy healing and then we discuss to consolidate the changes within. So yes, I do that, as well as running the Smith Emotional Mastery Program, which is an 8-week program, which allows my clients to go from self-awareness to transmutation. So this is going through trauma recovery, going through mindfulness, integrating the polarities within us. And I hold that space for 8 weeks, and I do that 3 times a year. I have 3 intakes a year that I do around that. But my day-to-day is mostly around my author publishing work and my energy healing.
Beautiful. Right before I'm going to stop. Mary has a question. I wanted to get to her question before we go into your reading, if we can. Mary, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Greetings. This is Mary, and I want to ask a question, please. My son was touching on going through hospice with my husband. He has been here a little over a week already, and they can't say when, but they're saying a guesstimate of maybe possibly a week, and that was about half of a week ago. I'm elderly, and I have some pretty serious health issues myself. And I've been praying about, and I want to make the right decision for him and me about getting full-time help instead of just intermittent hospice care. I want to do the right thing physically for myself and him, and spiritually for the both of us. Could you give me anything on that, please?
How old is your son?
How old is my son?
Yes. Yeah.
He's in his mid 40s.
And he is dependent on you.
A lot, but not totally. I try to be a support for him and encouragement, because I try to do that to other people, but especially people that I love. I try to be a support to them in ways that they need. It's about my husband that's on hospice that I'm asking. Yeah, about the full-time, like hospice, home, total care. I want it to be something that's the right thing, physically and spiritually, for both of us, me and my husband, as he crosses over.
What is coming through is for you to look at the resources around you. There are some opportunities around you. Is there anybody else that you can think about around you that can be of support for you at this time?
I have looked at that. I am getting support from hospice, and they're wonderful, beautiful, inside and out, wonderful people. However, they can't come each day. He didn't want to get his affairs in order, financial affairs and physical affairs for me. And there's a lot left undone. And it's scaring me, my home and everything around me. And I'm being told by the person that's I've chose to help in the direction of his afterlife cremations. He told me that I was going to have to do a lot, and he wrote it down, things that I have to do. It's going to take me away from him, and no one will be here like for a whole day for me to do that. Basic things like that need to be done. I don't feel comfortable leaving him that long. But hospice don't come out that often.
There's something about looking at the support that you have around you and trusting that support and allowing yourself to step back when you can, because you are very close to burnout. And
Yes.
you will need to look at stepping back in order to regain your own strength and using the support that you have around you the best way you can. This is what is coming through. You will have to step back a little bit, because when you want to step into a much more preferred timeline, you have to raise your energy levels. Your energy level is what will determine the outcome you get. When you are feeling too low, you cannot achieve the outcome that you want. So you will need to step back to regain your strength and use the support you have around you as best you can. For that, it may be for a short period of time, but you do need to regain your strength, because that essence of being that you will hold, when you have regained your strength, the essence of being you will hold will allow you to step into more preferred timelines for your better outcomes. So do not underestimate the power of stepping away, stepping back for a short period of time. And you may have to be to allow yourself to be a little bit have less expectations. Have less expectations for a short period of time for you to regain your strength, because the outcomes that we'll seek will only come from your essence of being. And to have the essence of being that you want, you will need to be a lot more energized. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do understand exactly. I do. And thank you, and blessings to you so much for what you've delivered to me.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mary. Bola, if you would now, maybe this gives some impetus to, the compassion that we need for ourselves as much as we have compassion for other people. If you would go ahead and read from your glorious book.
Interesting you mentioned compassion. I was going to read Our Natural Earth, but I think you let's co-create compassion together. I had
just hit the top.
Mute. I'll mute you, don't worry. Let me mute her.
Thank you.
No problem. Let me just mute her. So 1 moment. All right. Oh, you're muted. She's muted. No problem. Okay, go ahead. So
this is from my book, Daily Soul Bites, and this is the Compassion Soul Bite. The act of suffering to give ourselves compassion must be learned. When something unexpected happens and we have been triggered to react in fear, it is often not possible to be rational in that heat of the moment. We would often struggle to pause, to hold the belief that we are safe, loved, and can have our peace. It is sometimes only in reflection after the event that we can remember our empowering beliefs and come to cherish them. When we can choose to reflect, to say to ourselves, what happened to me back there? Or how did it happen this way? Or how can I get through this? To ask and truly be open, honest with the answers that come to us. It is this reflection that grows our self-awareness and compassion for our own self and for life. Reflection allows us to examine what the particular experience was meant to give to us along our way for our growth, expansion. It is this reflection with kind compassion, practiced again and again, that softens us and allows us to really receive the gift of each experience for living our best self every day. That's just a little bit from the Soul Bite on compassion from my book, Daily Soul Bites. Should I talk a bit about it?
I would love you to talk about it.
Yes, yes. I remember writing this. I have a young son. My first son he has special needs. And I remember when I began to let go of his carers, because he has carers he has autism and about 12 different diagnoses, very complex health needs. And I had to step back from being the only one looking after him. And I had to allow other people to support him. And I spent time training them. And I'm sharing this because I know how important it was for me to give myself compassion when I was trying to step back, because I found it difficult to let go of that strong bond that I had with him. And in order for me to allow him to become more independent, I had to step back. And in order for me to step back, I had to give myself compassion. So sometimes what we think is straightforward, we do have to go one step back. And now he's doing great. I've been able to do that. And this is just a practical example of how sometimes the things that we have to do in our own day to day, we will continue the struggle, or we will step back and give ourselves compassion. It's either judgment or love and compassion. And so that's just an example. And that's when that soul bite came to me. That soul bite came to me when I was having to step back to allow him to become much more independent. And I needed to be kinder to myself in order for me to receive the space to do something for myself and for him as well. Our relationship sometimes requires space. And that is one of the things that I think is really key, compassion to self. It allows us in our relationships to blossom, to thrive more. We get our best outcomes, and so do those that we have to relate to around us. So that's an example, a practical example of how that compassion really plays a big role in how we relate to ourselves and how our own relationships blossoms.
Yeah. Don't you think it's also, I mean, you said it, but in that whole, put on your own oxygen mask first before you aid others. You have to. You're no good to anyone when you are broken down. And you can go on your own steam by sheer will for a very long time, but there does come a point where you hit your wall and you have to take care of yourself, because in order to take care of other people, you have to first take care of yourself. You can't you can't go, there's just a point that you can't go beyond. And from what Mary is saying, the things that she needs to do are vital for her future, for her family's future. And I can only imagine that, that's part of her self-care, is taking care of those things,
Mm.
and also to take care of her husband as well. So beautiful. I like the fact that you studied psychology and that you deal with compassion and love and acceptance and balance. And I was reading something so very remarkable earlier this week about forgiveness and the power forgiveness has on our entire being, not only our mental being, but our physical and our spiritual and our emotional being. That they're saying that forgiveness, people who practice forgiveness, even their athleticism improves, that their vertical high jump of athletes is improved, their performance improves. And I'm just wondering, do you have anything in Soul Bites about forgiveness?
I do. I have a soul bite on forgiveness.
That's
Could I
why
read it?
I figured you did, and I'm going to ask you too. Yes. And then I would like to have your thoughts on forgiveness and the power of it, because it frees us in ways that we really don't quite understand. And that's
Mm.
what I would like to have you talk about, if possible.
Let me read the soul bite and then I'll talk about it.
Okay.
So this is a soul bite on forgiveness. Forgiveness is an alternative to holding a grudge, a painful memory. The memory may remind us of something that we perceive to be wrong. It does not matter who was right or wrong, but the memory stays and comes to mind at the oddest times in our day-to-day. For instance, we are just about to get into a lovely relationship, and the memory of a deceit we suffered in the last relationship comes up, leading us to give up on this relationship that really had quite a nice potential, but did not get a chance. Forgiving our own self and others for past events really is the easier alternative compared to the many times the present time will continue to be impacted. This is why anytime an old hurt, painful memory comes up, it is worth choosing to forgive and let go. This allows us to make the most of our key opportunities now in the direction of our present desires. That's the soul bite on forgiveness. I do want to say that it is about the present. Forgiveness is really about the present. And it's a choice. Because at the end of the day, the physical self has free will. And it is an alternative choice. There is a choice to hold on to the memory as we are learning. We are learning something from it. We're learning something from an experience that has happened. And we have to give ourselves time to learn. Everybody has their own timeline to learn something. But if we choose, there is an alternative to forgive. And it's about what we want to achieve now. This is about being very clear about what we want in the past. Because we will continue to hold that grudge if we do not let it go. It may serve us, it may not. So honest discernment is key. But if we are ready to let go, the first thing we have to do is forgive. And there are usually many levels to forgiveness. We're forgiving ourselves, we're forgiving the situation, because there are parts of us. There are different parts of us each and every time. We have different codes within us. Some codes were involved in the experience that now requires forgiveness, and some codes were not. And the codes that were not involved in that experience need to actually forgive the codes that were. So that's why sometimes we have to forgive our own self. It's the parts within us that are causing that conflict. The forgiveness has many levels, and it needs to happen through honest self-discernment. And it's something that we cannot forgive until we have learned from it. Sometimes we're trying to forgive and it doesn't work. We're trying to forgive something we haven't really understood the meaning of it. If I had a past relationship that was traumatic and I haven't really understood what that relationship meant to me, what I've lost, what I'm willing to let go of, what I am willing to move forward with, what I'm willing to accept, if I'm not able to really understand the meaning of what that relationship meant to me, I will not be able to move forward. So in this present time, in each present time, this moment that we're in, we have to have that honest self-discernment to say, yes, I have had a very traumatic period of time. We had good times, we had some rough times, but I've learned to speak up for myself. I've learned to communicate better. I've learned to look after myself better. I've learned to understand that everybody has a different opinion, and sometimes we have to agree to disagree. What have we learned from from that trauma? And then we can say, okay, I have learned through this, and I'm probably choosing to learn in much, much easier ways. I don't want to keep learning through stressful things, you know. There are different ways, different things we learn from our relationships or from our really traumatic or strenuous experiences. When we have understood these things, we can then move forward through forgiveness. It's a bridge. It's a bridge from the old to the new. It's a very powerful bridge because it changes the essence of being. It's a different level of being when we forgive. But we can only allow ourselves to do that through that process of self-discernment and understanding what the meaning is. Otherwise, it's happening too soon. We're trying to forgive too soon. And sometimes we learn to do it quicker. We learn to hold that sense of discernment quicker and quicker and quicker when we're learning to love, to love, to love. We allow ourselves that compassion to learn the meaning and then we can move forward quicker and quicker. But the meaning has to be learned. That's the point I want to make. Forgiveness requires us to learn the meaning and then move forward in the present towards what we would prefer, towards our preferred.
Can you just forgive because the price of not forgiving is too much, where it's just not worth it for your own pain, your own, because it's like two people holding on to a rope, pulling against each other. If one of the people lets go, the tension is gone. And if you let go and just say, regardless of the situation, the pain that I'm carrying is not worth it, and I deserve to be free.
Yeah.
With the
The
forgiveness.
parts,
You can understand maybe later over time, but I would just say that anyone who you need to forgive, including yourself, at the action moment that they took, they were not acting from their highest perspective. And that's the part that you're forgiving, for them not really remembering and knowing who they truly are. And if they did do that, they wouldn't have done, or you wouldn't have done. And so that's the part that is forgivable. Maybe not the action itself, but the fact that that person acted without the true knowledge of who they really were, which is everyone, which is that oneness, which is that knowing that what I do to you, I do to myself on the broader perspective, and forgiving that forgetfulness is what really we're forgiving.
that is so true because it's really about us.
Mm-hmm.
It really comes down to how we want to feel, the essence we want to hold,
Yeah.
no matter what the other person. Because sometimes we're trying to forgive somebody who we know if we give them another chance, they'll probably do the same thing again and again.
Sure.
So if we're waiting for them to come round or to realize the mistake or to realize that they've done something that they shouldn't have done, we will wait forever. It's going to be an endless wait. So
That's
it
one of
really,
the most common questions I get in psychic readings. Does that person, are they ever going to realize what they did to me? And that's almost an unanswerable question, and if you're waiting for that
it's
in order
about
to
self.
forget, yeah,
It comes down to What have I learned? What, what do I want? What's the preferred timeline? What do I want to experience right now? What essence do I want to hold for myself right now?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Because the essence of being that we hold determines what reflection we see, determines what we create around us, determines the version of the person that we see. Because you can be in a relationship with someone and you put yourself in that place of emotional freedom the night before, and you wake up the next morning and you see a different version of that person, because your essence of being is really what is creating your reality in the present. So it's all about the self. It's really all about the essence of being that we hold. And that it I'm referring to is the physical experience that we have. So when we forgive, we place ourselves in another level, a different level of essence of being, a higher level of essence of being. This is what my book is about becoming more familiar with the perspectives of that higher essence of being and aligning more and more to that essence of being, so that what we create around us is preferred, is more positive, is our best outcomes. It's very unique, but it's not about the other person at all. The relationships we have are based on our essence, our frequency, our vibration. We determine the version of that person. And how did I discover this? Because I had my second marriage. He wasn't very generous towards me, and he probably wouldn't agree with me if he wasn't very generous. And when the next marriage he had, he was so generous towards that from my perspective. I mean, he would tell me, I did this for you. But we all have different love languages. So love language, knowing your love language and communicating your love language is important. And I say this because that very same person, the second wife he had, experienced a different version of him than I did, as far as I'm concerned, you know. So the versions, people have different versions. So what versions do we want to connect with? We will experience better versions of people when we ourselves are in that higher essence of being. When we forgive, forgiveness is a very powerful tool. We know lots of tools, energy healing, forgiveness, they're all tools, they're all permission slips that help us to get higher, into higher states of being.
Mm. I would like to bring a question that's in the chat because it's completely relevant in this moment. Swavi says, how do you have the perfect relationship?
Depending on what is perfect for you. Because what's perfect for one person is different for what is perfect for another. And how do you have a perfect relationship for yourself is by being more understanding, to really understand your own self. Because when we understand ourselves, we are able to hold the intentions that we hold really allow us to take action in a way that will align us to realize those experiences in our day-to-day. So understanding our own self, we can't blame anybody else but us. Our relationships are dependent on us. So perfection, and I'm not sure what is this. There's always ups and downs. It may be perfect in January. Would it be perfect in March? I don't know. But I think it's all about fulfillment, and coming to a place where you understand the needs, because we all have very, very simple needs, but we sometimes can complicate it. I also do that. So understanding what our needs are and holding intentions and taking action and communicating what we need, and making sure that we ourselves are holding the essence of being that will allow us to experience the versions of the people that we interact with, and knowing that our thoughts and our beliefs we need to continue to manage them and align to what is less negative, because negative thoughts have a life force of their own. They will really deceive us into thinking we're not worthy, and we will begin to perceive the behaviors of others in ways that they did not mean it that way. So there's a lot of accountability that we need to come to hold to enjoy and have fulfilling relationships. I have learned that in my own life, that we do need to have a lot. We can't blame anybody. We can come to love ourselves, hold accountability for ourselves, give ourselves time to rest, real rest, restoration. There's 7 types of rest. There's emotional, physical, and it's not about sleep. It's really about coming to that place of pausing and reflecting and letting go of what no longer is required, what no longer serves us. So that's really where the perfect relationship starts, from relationship with yourself, I think. Um, and it's probably not perfection. It's more fulfillment, I would say. Because I don't think it ever gets, you can have heaven on earth, yes, but I'm not sure if heaven is perfect, but it's very enjoyable, I must say. I am enjoying more of that now, but I'm not sure about perfection. But fulfillment, yes, that is very possible.
It's interesting what you say about the self-talk and the negative self-talk that we have, and how we see everything through a lens of our past experiences. And if we really haven't healed ourselves, then we tend to project those fears, those ideas onto another person who may not have any of the intention that we perceive when they say something to us. And because of the 80% of these negative thoughts. So how do you start to shift those negativities? Again, I know I talk to a lot of people who are always having relationship questions, and they'll always say, well, I have abandonment issues because of a past relationship. I have trust issues because of this. And you bring 2 people together who are both dealing with their own stuff, and the truth of what's going on between the 2 of them is somewhere in the middle. And it's clouded by their own baggage. So how do you really begin to work on that? That's part of your mastery program that you're teaching, but I'm just asking you, in a short answer, how do you really address that? Because that's very true for so many people on many things in our jobs, how we believe our boss perceives us, or how we feel appreciated or not appreciated based on our own beliefs about what we're capable of, what we're doing, all of those things. It's not just relationships, but in love relationships, but every relationship we have with others in the world, in different, the different ways we're moving through our day and through our life.
I think self-awareness is key. Self-awareness to really understand our own self, our thoughts, our emotions. When that, I have a blog on my an article on my blog, my website, that's dealing with anger. There is, and I lay down step-by-step guide to deal with anger. And the different, there's the suppressed anger, repressed anger, there's healthy anger, because anger itself is not a negative.
Right.
It's how we, it's how we use it. What does it, what meaning? If it goes beyond 15 seconds, then it could become suppressed or repressed, or it could become rage. But you can have anger. You can feel that something isn't right. You can feel that there is um, uh, an injustice here. There's something that is not aligning to what I prefer. So, and to know what is not preferred, you have to know what is preferred. So this is where the self-awareness is, understanding self, taking time to, if it's using different tools, self-inquiry, asking yourself questions, taking time to pause and reflect, taking time to write, to journal, to ask yourself questions. Why didn't I like this? Why did I feel this way? Understanding what your love language is. Do I understand? I mean, do I love receiving gifts? Do I love affirmations? Do I love quality time? You know, do I love physical touch? You know, we're all different, and we all have at least one or two primary love languages, which is really, how do I feel love? How do I know? How do I, what do others have to do? What does someone else have to do for me to feel love, to know they love me? That is a love language. We all need to know what our love language is.
And
Every
we don't
single,
have, yeah, and we don't have to expect the other person just knows it. I
we
hear
have to
people say, well, they
communicate.
should just know. They should just know. But that's not
No,
true.
no,
You don't
no,
know.
everybody's different.
Yeah.
You know, and we will find that we will align to those who may teach us one thing or the other, because we are creating this experience.
Mhm.
I truly believe that. So it may be that I want to learn how to communicate better through gifts. Because I didn't always, for me, I didn't always used to give gifts, but I love receiving gifts. And then someday I was told, you don't ever give gifts. And I went, oh, okay. So I aligned to this person so I can learn to give gifts. So they communicated that to me after some degree of discomfort between us. So we will come to understand what it is we are wanting to develop within our own selves. We will come to understand what it is we want to understand for our own selves. Because it's one thing to understand self, it's one thing to understand how others want what others want to experience. So there's the understanding of self, there's the understanding of relationships, there's the understanding relationship at work or personal relationships, and there's the dynamic. This existence is so dynamic. There are lots of things we have come to learn, and we have to allow the space for all of that to happen. So yes, I'm not sure what your question is again. I can't remember what it was, but
No, it's just about
it's
how
about
do you,
self-awareness.
it was about self-talk and how to start to shift that negative self-talk into something that helps you, you know, create a more positive
Yeah,
interaction, not only with
yes.
yourself, but with other people.
So it starts with the self-awareness, understanding what you prefer, understanding what you don't prefer, and then mindfulness comes in there. Because once you understand what you prefer, when you get what you do not prefer, how do you respond to that? That is key. Do you respond with communicating that I don't? How do you communicate what you do not prefer or what you prefer? So there's a way we can learn to talk, because I know I had to learn to express my emotions. I had to unlearn how I'd been programmed to communicate by shouting and all of that stuff, and learn ways to express it in a way that we will be heard. Because when we communicate, we do want to be heard, after all. I don't just want to speak and speak and speak and talk. The key thing is to be heard. And for there to be some resonance, some alignment, that is when we get the best outcomes. So mindfulness as to what we prefer and how we respond to what we do not prefer once we see what we do not prefer. And then integration is about the polarity. Because we sometimes think, I do not want any negativity. Negativity will always be there till we pass this earth plane. The earth plane is, the duality is a fact of this physical plane. We will always have negativity. The polarity will always exist. So it's all about learning how to integrate the negative and the positive that we come across, and not being resistant to negativity, because it will always be there. There will always be ups and downs. If we have a period of all the good stuff happening, there will be some negativity that this existence will just create. It is part of our own individual and collective agreement with this physical plane that we will have negativity to help us deal with some of the things that we have carried into this life plane. So knowing that that will be there, knowing that we will have negativity is key. So we're not so uncomfortable when we come across it, when we have to deal with it. And it becomes, how do we respond and integrate? Because that is what makes us stronger. We become stronger each time we integrate the polarities. And by the polarities, I mean, the negative and positive are always there, and it's how we integrate them. And then the trauma recovery, knowing that there is always something, a different level. We may have trauma that we have overcome through some counseling or some healing, but there's always another level. So we may think that I have overcome my divorce or my the loss of my father, loss of my mother, but there may be another level, and that's okay. Trauma recovery is an ongoing journey, and it's about showing ourselves love again and again and again, using whatever permission slips. Whatever permission slips, I mean the tools, the recovery tools. It could be counseling, it could be reading, it could be sound therapy, whatever works for us. And knowing that what worked for us last year may not work for us this year. The trial and error, being open, being willing, being open-minded, not because sometimes we're conditioned to say this particular healing modality will not work for me. It belongs to this group, it belongs to that group. Being open-minded is so key. I know it took me 10 years to embrace Reiki energy healing. So that's why I say being open-minded is key, because it has transformed my life. And then the last part of this, because this is what I do. This is the SMEET program. The S is self-awareness, the M is mindfulness, the I is integration, T is trauma recovery, and the last T is really transmutation, which is where you are aligning again and again to the higher mind. This is the second, the part of us that makes us whole. The physical ego self needs the higher self to be whole. And when we transmute, using whatever modality again, really works for us to transmute from that physical ego self to the higher self. Transmutation of the energy being that we are, because we are spirit beings. Allowing that spirit being to drive the physical ego self is what transmutation is about. And I use a lot of different modalities in my programs to allow that entire process. So first of all, learning how to become much more self-aware, how to become more mindful, to really integrate this different positive, negative, and neutral thoughts within us, emotions and feelings, and how to really work with trauma as an endless journey with more ease and flow. And then at the end of the day, how to really allow that higher self to drive us um, in every present moment, And it is a journey. We just get better and better at it. It becomes easier and easier, and we're criticizing ourselves less and less, and allowing that physical ego self to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel loved, to surrender, because we only surrender when we feel safe. That physical ego self will only surrender when it feels safe. So it's a journey and it's a process. I hope that answers your question.
I think so. I like there's some other questions, so I don't want to take any more time, but I do appreciate the fact that you said it took you 10 years to integrate Reiki energy. And I just want to say that for so many people on a spiritual path, they think everything is instantaneously resolved. And it's generally like an onion, just peeling back the layers, just peeling back, and integration and peeling back some more, and life being lived, and the wisdom that comes with that. And I just appreciate that so much, that the patience that you need to have, which leads to the next question from Joan. And I was going to say the patience you need to have, but also the surrender to the process. And her question is surrender also another form of forgiveness, or is surrender just allowing ourselves to experience and seeing the different perspectives in forgiveness?
Forgiveness needs to come before surrender. They're two different tools. They're related, but I think the surrender is effortless in a way, and it comes after you have let go. the surrender is almost something you do without thinking about it. But there has to be some process, some recovery, some degree of healing that takes place before surrender can happen. And forgiveness is one of the tools that you could use to allow yourself feel safe enough, feel secure enough, feel loved enough to surrender. Surrender is the kind of last step, I would say, to transmute, for the physical ego self to transmute into the higher self, and allow itself to be led, to be driven. But it's essential. Surrender is essential for the ego, for the higher self to drive that physical ego self. It's like the physical ego self is gets to the passenger seat and allows the higher self to drive the car, if you like. The it's the physical ego self has to surrender to allow that to happen. So yeah, surrender comes after forgiveness. They're two different things, but surrender is the key. That's the goal. It's the goal to allow transmutation to occur.
Yes. Like being able to free fall into the universe, trust fall, basically.
Yes, trust. Yes, I love that. Yeah.
There's a question from the chat. There's a couple of them. First one is from Mary. She says, recently I've been having some very strange experiences, such as holes and flashes in my vision, as well as tracers. My question is, can you explain the significance of what is happening?
Depends the messages that you get, how you feel, because when you have, did you say dreams or
No,
vision?
she said she didn't mention dreams, but
It says
it's
visions. Those you're
experiences.
awake.
I believe she's awake. Yeah, she's
Awake.
having these tracers. I mean, also she should get her eyes checked because that is a sign of a detached retina as well. But she's been having holes and flashes in her vision as well as tracers.
It does depend on the experiences that are going along with that. A lot of it, because it's always about being accountable and allowing yourself to be led to take the actions that you need to take. Yeah, and I take your point about having the eyes checked, Krishna Priya. There is definitely, it's not a one answer thing. It would depend on what happens and how you are perceiving this for yourself. So if you're having flashes and it's impacted in a negative way, to ask yourself, how do I want to experience this differently? And you will be led as to what opportunities are around you, what the next steps will be to take when you start to do that. But I love that you're already asking the questions and the answers will come. And one of the answers that has come now is from Krishna Priya to say to check your site. And it's important to also ask yourself what impact, because sometimes it could be that you need to look at things in a different way. It may be that it's time for you to see more light in your life. It's time for you to align to more light. But the answers will come to you. And these things you are hearing from me today, whatever resonates with you, allow yourself to explore that and pause and reflect on it. But you will be led as you look more into this.
Yeah. And as
But
much
vision
as
is always,
yeah,
let me just say this last thing, Christopher.
Yeah.
Vision difficulties, because I've also had that. Usually to do with, you need to look at things differently. You either more light or you need to pause and take a break. But it's usually around your how you are perceiving things, and you need to look at things in a different way.
Yeah, usually, and so much of the time, something can manifest physically because it has a spiritual origin as well. So both things can be happening. You know, you can be having retinal problems because of needing to bring in more light, etc. It's if a holistic approach always includes mind, body, and spirit. It's never
Yeah,
usually just one or the other. That was just the point I wanted to make there.
yeah, I
There's a
agree.
beautiful question from Wendy that actually I've not seen asked, but it's a very, I think, very good question. She says, what type of energy do sarcastic remarks and teasing have?
Depends how you take it, because some comedians may like that and use it for their work. I find that there's a lot of comedy has a cruelty to it. I find there's some kind of joke sometimes are making fun of somebody, but it's very personal. Um, See, this perceptions, energy itself is neutral in a way, and I think the perceptions that we can hold depends on the perspectives that we attach to it, the meaning that we give to it. So someone might say something, we might all go and watch a show, for instance, and for instance, I am a mother of a person with special needs. I don't tend to laugh too much at jokes about disabilities or people who tease or all of that. But somebody else may find that. So it's about perspective. But the words that carry and the conditioning that we have, there's some even different cultures. Some cultures may have particular meanings attached to certain things, and some cultures may not. I know that the word crazy, for instance, is perceived very differently in different countries, in different cultures. You call somebody crazy, in some places, and they laugh, and somewhere else they don't. So it's the meaning that is given to it as an individual and as a collective that
Mhm.
really um, aligns to energy, that becomes energy. Then that flow, the energy that flows is based on the meaning that is given to the word, the perspective that is held, the conditioning that one has held over the years or one has come to understand. And that again can change depending on how we transform or how we shift. So that would be my response to that.
Mm, Okay, and I guess it would depend on who is making the comment. Is it you as you're perceiving a sarcastic comment being made towards you or towards other, or is it the person? How does it affect the person making the sarcastic comment, especially if it's like a chronic, constant sarcasm and criticism of
Mm.
other people, maybe more judgmental than sort of a funny, comedians can be mean, but they can also make highly astute observations. That's their superpower, really finding that tiny, tiny, minute uh, intricacy of an observation and then turning it around. But but someone who is, say, highly critical of other people, constantly judging, constantly putting down, what energy does it have for that person, the one that is making those kind of comments?
And our perception of the person is key. Our perception of, a comedian may say something and we laugh, but somebody we consider to be judgmental may say that very same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and we do not find it funny.
No, but I'm not
So
talking about the perception of the person making it. I'm talking about the person saying it. What is the energetic effect on them?
the perception of the person, our perception of the person saying it is ours we're making.
Mhm.
They whatever they say, our perception, we are the ones deciding who they are to
Mm.
us. The description we have of them is ours. The description that anybody has of us is theirs.
Mm.
You see, it's still our perception. And I think we need, that's important for us to own that two people may say the same thing, but the perception we hold about those two people will determine how we receive it.
Mm. And I guess
This
it's,
is
yeah, if it's coming from a place of anger, or if it's coming from a place of, I mean, say if it's me or it's you, and you find yourself constantly looking at people going, oh, I don't like her skirt. Oh, her hair's not good. Why does she do it like that? I mean, that's born out of some sort of judgment, isn't it? Or self judgment that you're having of yourself that you're projecting or not.
that's
And
our perception of self. Yes, it's
and
still
would
our
that,
perception.
yeah, would that be have an effect? That's the question on you or the person making the comments.
Say that again.
Well, I'll just say that from what we understand is that people that can be highly critical a lot of times are very unhappy, or they have a uh there's something going on within themselves. People who tend to maybe bully and to be very highly critical. Generally, someone who's a bully is unhappy on some level with something in
Too.
their own life. And so on an energetic level, the question is, how does that affect you if you're the one who's highly critical?
We would create those, it's the law of attraction. We would attract that for our own self because the essence that we will hold would be um, very low frequency, very,
Right.
very low frequency. And we would find ourselves attracting those kinds of experiences in our day to day.
Mhm.
It's the law of attraction is really determined by the frequency we hold. So when you're critical with your own self or with others, we would amplify those experiences in our day to day. We would find more and more things to be critical about.
Mhm.
But if we are aligning to love, we would amplify love and find more and more things to love and enjoy. It's
Right.
down to the frequency we hold. It's down to the perceptions that we hold within our own selves.
I'm thinking particularly of uh Wendy was asking about like teasing with friends, the teaser and the teasee, basically the person doing the teasing, the person receiving the teasing. And I'm thinking of children who are bullied to the point where they commit suicide, where there's, this incredible uh onslaught of constant criticism, whether it be about their looks, their sexuality, where they're, whatever the I mean, it's a problem in our society these days, especially with the internet. How do you perceive that kind of um because it's very a lot of times for the parents who have a child that's bullied, they don't understand to the level the child is bullied until it's too late, unfortunately. And so for those children, how do you approach getting them out of this idea that they are that thing that the people are accusing them of, that their life is over because everyone in the fifth grade thinks that they're stupid or that they're fat or that they're ugly or whatever. I mean, these are very painful and sometimes very detrimental thoughts that come into a child's head.
Mhm.
So how do you approach that? Maybe as a parent, maybe as a
Yeah,
parent who has a child who's bullying or a child that's being bullied.
yes. When we come across an experience that we do not prefer, whether it's bullying, whether it's a child that is having suicidal ideation, how we respond to it is key.
Mhm.
And it's important to, taking action in whatever direction will get us the outcome that we prefer. It may be with that child, it may be with the environment. There are different aspects and different scenarios to this usually. But it's important for us to know that it's an opportunity for us to declare and hold an intention for the kind of worth that we want to hold for ourselves and for that child. So again, it's about us being self-aware and responding in a way that we prefer from a place of a higher perspective. Because when we want to change something, we have to first of all discern what we prefer. And that is coming from a higher perspective. And this is something we all have to go through. I've had to go through it. And it's not that it's a one-off thing. It happens again and again when we come across negative scenarios in our day-to-day. The first thing is to become aware that this is not something I prefer. So what do I prefer? Obviously, the child needs to be shown and that change in the child's sense of worth and sense of esteem could be attained in that environment, or they need to be taken away from that environment. But addressing the child's sense of worth is key, because the truth is that everybody is worthy. Creation doesn't make mistakes. Everybody has worth. But sometimes we experience things that tell us we have no worth.
Right.
So knowing that we do want to experience worth for our own self and for our loved ones. So that is an intention. That is intention I want to hold, and taking action to allow that intention to materialize for that child through understanding what that child's love language is, for instance. You know, Gary Chapman wrote the book The Five Love Languages. It's a very powerful book, which I read a long time ago and I still use on a day-to-day. Allowing that child to feel loved, to feel safe, to feel secure, to develop a sense of attachment, a loving sense of attachment. And then that environment, we may want to seek justice. We may want to seek redress. There are lots of things that could happen at different levels. But we first of all have to hold that intention for our own self, because we need to be coming from a place of a higher perspective in order for us to get the best out of this. If we decide to go to handle some of these things from the physical ego perspective, which may be, physical abuse, trying to beat somebody up or getting a gun or whatever, I don't know what could be the case. We may not get the best outcomes that we could. So how we address it depends on the perspective that we come to it. So yeah, so it's always a case of what intentions do we hold when we come across, when we encounter a non-preferred timeline, a non-preferred experience. What do we want instead of this? That is self-awareness and self-understanding, knowing that the truth of our being is worth. We are self-worth. We are a part of infinite worth, infinite existence. And we have to keep reminding ourselves. And sometimes we create experiences. I know I do that sometimes. I create experiences that allow me to remind myself that I am a part of infinite existence and a part of infinite love. And I can tap into that again and again and again.
Okay, thank you so much. Susan has a question. Susan, go ahead.
So earlier when you were talking about with the response about the eyesight, so the last few weeks I've been experiencing with my left ear being plugged up and kind of diminished hearing, and I thought, well, maybe it's just excessive wax buildup. So I've been putting drops in my ears to help loosen that up, and it seems almost like it's plugging my ear up more. And I'm just wondering if I'm manifesting this perhaps because either I'm not listening to my own guidance or listening to how I truly feel about something, or if I'm perhaps not listening to someone else in my life, or like my pet's needs, or or whatever. Yeah, I'm trying to go within and figure this out. But I'm just wondering if you, yeah, if you had, and I do plan on going to a doctor and just checking my hearing because I haven't done that before. But yeah, I'm just wondering if this is something I'm manifesting because I need to tune in to maybe, like, I'm not listening to how I truly feel about something, or I'm not listening to how somebody else feels or what I'm picking up on, or avoiding avoiding, connecting in with something like that. I'm just wondering if you get any sense about that.
What is coming to me is to trust yourself, because you are already getting the answers that you need, and you need to trust yourself to move forward with what resonates with you the most, and to trust whatever comes forward. That is what I'm getting. One of those things will be the stronger. Is there any one of those things that is really calling to you as the strongest answer or the strongest option for you right now in your gut? If you pause and feel in your gut, which is coming to you as what is the strongest answer?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple areas of my life right now where I know I've been questioning and and I'm getting the answer, but you're right, I'm not fully trusting it, or there's like that little hint of doubt. And I'm just trying to go with the flow and just see what else shows up for me as I move forward. Yeah, so I'm trying not to, I guess, be in fear or in doubt, but I still am questioning. And
Yeah.
usually I'm pretty good about trusting myself, but I know I'm thinking about, building on a piece of property that I own, and it would be a big expense, and I would have to take out a loan for a portion of it, not all of it, but I think it's just, is this the right year to do this, to take this leap and pursue my dream of building on my property, a vacation home. And so that's one thing I've been questioning on. And then um yeah, I've recently reconnected with an ex, and I feel a lot of just love and appreciation for who he is now compared to like, I've changed a lot, he's changed a lot, and we've recently reconnected and are really enjoying each other's company. But it's like, do I trust that? Even though my feeling is good about it, about letting him back in my life, but and I don't know where it's going to lead yet. So I'm just trying to just be present, observe how I'm feeling as this moves forward. And but you're right. I mean, you're spot on as far as just me trusting myself, and you know as I progress, and not, because it's like I do know how I feel, but I think it's like there's a little tiny bit of resistance as far as trusting that, and yeah, and I'm trying to move through that,
And
and
a time will come when you will know, and you just know, and you do not doubt anymore. Allow yourself to come to that place where when you come to that place of knowing, you go with that. And it's your higher self talking to you. It's a sense of passion, a sense of excitement. And when you look at that direction, you will find the opportunity there. Go with it. Take the next step, baby steps. And from that place of knowing, And it's a practice, it's a journey. And know that it's a muscle you have to build. It will not happen in one day. You know, when I say that, it's you will not come to 100% knowing in one day. You will have to build it, and it's a muscle. So when you get the inclination that this feels right, go with it. Go with it, and you will find the opportunities. Go with it. If you know it's a relationship, it's an opportunity. It's this. There's this bank that I feel like I need to go to, or I hear someone say that I should go to this bank and get this loan, or I should make a phone call. Go with it. You have to come to rely on your own self. And that is a relationship that you will need to build within you, whether it's that intuition, it's whether it's audience or a clairaudience or clairvoyance, or how do you get your messages? Do you know, is it by knowing or by cognizance, or how do you get
Well,
messages?
yeah, so I do get visions with my mind, with my eyes closed, with my mind's eye, but my clear cognizance is probably the strongest, where I'll just know. I guess I'll get words, names, phrases, things like that will pop in my head when I ask, yeah, when I ask my higher self questions, when I tune into my inner guidance and ask those questions, I'll get like, yeah, words, phrases, yes, no, that I do trust. And I am, more into like the flow of my life without any resistance or insistence on how things show up with me. And then, yeah, like you said, just trusting where I'm pulled, what feels right. I do that. So it's kind of like, well, why am I, is it just because it's some of these bigger things that are showing up, like that I need to trust and make decisions on, that there's a slight hesitation, but I'm usually aware of it and I usually try to move past it. But like you said, it takes practice
Something's
to,
come to me. Something's come to me. It's forgiveness. There's something about an event or a couple of events from the past that you need to forgive yourself for. You ran with it and it didn't go right. You need to forgive and let go of that. There, and you may need time to pause and reflect on this. But forgiveness, the word forgiveness is coming up. Forgiveness.
yes, that makes sense. And when you were talking about forgiveness earlier, that really did resonate with me as well. So thank you. Yes, you're spot on with what you're getting. Yeah, it does really just confirm for
You
me.
are being led and you are loved. You are being led powerfully and you are loved. You're very
Yeah,
wise. Mm.
yes, I do yeah, feel like my heart has expanded, especially the last few months. And yeah, I feel more love for everything and more connected to how others are feeling, how I'm feeling. And so that's something I'm, yeah, kind of getting used to, I guess, this expanded feeling of love that I'm holding like in my field or, um, yeah. And so, yeah, I'm really trying to tune in more to how I feel in the moment. So,
Mm.
yes, and love is a big part of it. That I
It's
feel
beautiful.
much more love. Yeah, especially. Um,
Mm.
yeah, because I had an experience a couple months ago where I was doing a private session with somebody and I was connecting with their loved ones, but I actually felt like I stepped into the dimension of the other side and felt the presence of God and the immense love, and I started crying and I felt like it completely shattered all my defenses and opened up my heart more. And so yeah, I feel like I've just been changed the last couple months since that happened, and feeling much more love. And yeah, so that's right
Good.
on, right on. So thank you. Much love to you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hey, well, thank Bola. We've run out of time. It went very fast.
Thank you so much.
It went too fast. So what I'd like if you would do the closing blessing and give the interpretation from the Aldorians, that would be fantastic.
Tantiri makutoro sokoro mushakara kataras. Prantitiri sotoro mushokurus. Tafatara sotoro mukurutoro mushokuru kataras. Esetere mushotoro mushokurus. Esire matara sotoro sotoro. Welcome to your new space. Welcome to your new world. You are allowing yourselves to experience the newness of your being. Allow the space, allow the love that you have available to you within your own self to heal you and to help you experience love in totality. Much love.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so Bola, why don't you, before you go, why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with you, reach out to you? I will put your information in the description of the YouTube video, but if you can just, for those that are here live listening, why don't you let people know how they can reach you?
I will always say to grab a copy of my book, Daily Soul Vibes, which is available anywhere books are sold. And my website is www.soulspacehealing.com. And I have a lot of videos, interviews, and insights from spiritual teachers on my YouTube as well. Bola Ahimbola Official. So check that out. It's over 600,000 views on that at the moment. And, it's going quite well. So yes, so that's how to reach me. My book on bookstores, my website, and my YouTube, and I'm also on Spotify and Amazon, different
AI
platforms.
2024.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for that very much.
Thank you so much, Krishna.
And I'm glad we finally had you. So it's good to turn the
Nice to
camera
be
around and flip it around sometimes. That's right. Thank you. I'm just going to remove you from spotlight, leave you on camera, but bring Angie on. Angie, if you'll give us our announcements and then we'll call it a day.
Thank you so much. We have the channeling class scheduled for tomorrow, May 26th, 1:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. The cost on that is $150. I am the instructor with that class. That class is for both the beginner and the advanced because we're going to be covering a lot of things for both areas. The cost on that is $150. The consciousness class is Saturday, June 8th. 1:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, and Jim will be channeling in that class. He will be channeling the being Gurnani to help us understand how to really utilize our consciousness. The channeling class and the consciousness class, what happens is you take both of the classes together and then you incorporate them both. My current channeling group that I have, we have, after the last consciousness class, we have been integrating the consciousness with the channeling. It really has been amazing since we've been doing that. The cost on that is $150. The gathering is scheduled for August 8th through August 12th, 2024. It is all inclusive for $695, or you can stay off site and do the day pass for $100 a day. And if you're interested in any of those, please email classes@hucolo.org. We do have space in tomorrow's channeling class. The consciousness class is filling up nicely. And so if you are interested in any of those, email classes@hucolo.org, and I will get information on how to register for any of those.
Perfect. All right. So thank you, everyone. Next week we have Jim. He'll be back, and I've seen some questions for Jim in the comments of the last YouTube for the beings that were there that I can't remember their name that were new to us, and so we'll make sure to ask those. Who were they?
It was Tidimus.
From the
Yep, Tidimus from the Zhuag.
Zhuag, yeah.
Yep,
So there's
the-
been some comments and some questions that needed to be asked
Okay, so we'll
of the
be sure
Zhuag, so we'll
to
make sure to
have
get those
Tidimus
next.
come back. Mhm.
I
Yes,
should say though, just to, the Zhuag Krishna Priya. When I interviewed Jim on my YouTube, that he did talk about the Zhuag. So if anybody wants to know more about the Zhuag, he did mention that in my interview with him.
right. Right. So I'm interested to learn more about them, and
Yes, me too.
yeah, so that'll be great. All right. So next week, Jim, and this week was Bola. I can't say it. Say your last name.
Ahimbola.
Bola Abimbola. I love saying that, even though it's tongue twisting. All right. So thank you so much, Bola. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone in the YouTube chat and the Zoom room, and have a fantastic, fantastic week. Much love to you.